What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actors walks onto a daytime talk show expecting a friendly chat, only to be blindsided by a host who crosses every line imaginable? It only took one comment from Denise Welch to turn a promotional interview into the most explosive walkout in British television history. Liam Neeson arrived at the Loose Women's studio that morning with nothing but good intentions. He was there to talk about his latest film, to share some stories, to connect with the audience. The kind of thing he'd done hundreds of times before. But within minutes of sitting down on that famous purple sofa, it became clear this was not going to be a normal interview. The panel that day consisted of Denise Welch, who was leading the conversation, along with Nadia Sawa, Kay Adams, and Janet Street Porter. The audience was packed, cameras rolling, and Liam settled into his seat with that familiar, warm smile he's known for. Denise started off pleasantly enough. "Liam, lovely to have you here. Now, you've got this new film coming out, and we're all very excited about it. But before we get to that, I just have to ask you something." Already, there was something in her tone, a sharpness, an edge that didn't quite match her smile. Liam nodded politely. "Of course. Fire away. You've played a lot of tough guys, a lot of action heroes. Tell me, do you think that's because you're compensating for something? I mean, you're getting on a bit now, aren't you?" The other panelists shifted uncomfortably. Nadia's eyes widened slightly. Kay looked down at her notes, but Denise just sat there, that same tight smile on her face, waiting for an answer. Liam laughed it off, though you could see the surprise in his eyes. "Well, I wouldn't say I'm compensating for anything. I just enjoy the roles. They're fun to play, and audiences seem to enjoy watching them." But Denise pressed further. "Don't you think it's a bit silly? A man your age running around pretending to be some kind of superhero. When do you think you'll retire and let the younger lads have a go?" Janet Street Porter jumped in, trying to steer things back. "I think what Denise means is that you've had such a varied career. Liam, you've done everything from Schindler's List to action films. That range is incredible." "Thank you, Janet," Liam said, clearly grateful for the lifeline. "Yes, I've been very fortunate to play many different types of characters over the years." But Denise wasn't done. She leaned forward, her voice taking on an even more pointed tone. "Let's talk about." "I don't think that's an appropriate question," Liam said quietly, though you could sense the steel in his voice. Denise waved it off. "Oh, come on. We're all adults here. This is what we do on this show. We get into the nitty-gritty of people's lives. There's a difference between having a real conversation and being disrespectful," Liam replied firmly. The tension was building, the audience silent but tense. Nadia tried to intervene. "Liam, maybe we could talk about your preparation for the film. I heard you did a lot of your own stunts." "Yes, let's do that," Kay added quickly, flipping through her cards. "That sounds much more interesting." But Denise cut them both off. No, I want to finish this thought, Liam. You seem quite sensitive about this. Is it because you're lonely? Is that why you keep doing these action films? To feel young and virile again?" The audience gasped. Several people in the crowd could be heard muttering their disapproval. Liam sat very still, his hands clasped in front of him. "Denise, I came here to talk about my work," he said, his voice measured and calm, though anger was just beneath the surface. "Oh, don't be so dramatic," Denise said, rolling her eyes. "This is television. This is what people want to see. They don't want some boring, sanitized interview where everyone just says nice things. They want the truth." "The truth," Liam repeated, and now his voice was rising slightly. "The truth is that you're being incredibly rude. The truth is that you've crossed several lines in the space of a few minutes. The truth is that this is the most unprofessional interview I've ever been a part of." Janet nodded in agreement. "He's got a point, Denise. You've been quite harsh." "Oh, don't you start." Denise snapped at Janet. "You're always going on about speaking your mind and being honest." "Well, that's all I'm doing. There's honest, and then there's cruel," Janet shot back. "And you're being cruel." Denise turned back to Liam, clearly irritated that she was losing control. "I'm just asking questions that people at home are thinking. Don't shoot the messenger." "No one at home is thinking these things," Kay interjected. "Denise, seriously, you need to apologize." "I'm not apologizing for doing my job," Denise said defiantly. "Your job is to interview guests, not to attack them. Your job is to make people feel welcome, not to dredge up painful personal experiences for shock." Then why are you behaving like this? Liam asked. What possessed you to think it was acceptable to talk to me or anyone this way? Because you celebrities think you're so special, Denise replied. The mask was slipping. You think you can just come on our show, plug your little films, and we're supposed to fawn all over you? Well, not on my watch, Denise continued. Treating people the same doesn't mean treating them badly, Nadia said softly. Liam has been nothing but gracious. And you've been attacking him from the moment he sat down. I haven't been attacking him, Denise protested, though her voice was less certain now. Yes, you have, Kay said firmly. And I think you know it. You went after his age, his career choices, and then you brought up his late wife. That's beyond the pale, Denise. Liam stood up slowly. The entire studio seemed to freeze. He carefully removed his microphone, letting the silence build. When Liam finally spoke, his voice was quiet, but every word resonated through the silent studio. I've been in this industry for over 4 decades, he began. I've done interviews all over the world. I've dealt with tough questions, challenging topics, difficult conversations, but I have never in all that time been spoken to with such callous disregard for basic human decency. Oh, please, Denise muttered, but her bravado was clearly waning. Don't be melodramatic, Liam said firmly. This is me refusing to be treated like this. This is me standing up and saying that what you're doing is wrong. You don't get to hide behind the excuse of doing your job or keeping it real. You're just being mean for the sake of being mean. The audience was completely silent now, hanging on every word. You want to know what people at home are really thinking? Liam continued. They're thinking that you should be ashamed of yourself. They're thinking that you owe me an apology. They're thinking that this is exactly what's wrong with certain types of television. The needless cruelty, the manufactured drama, the complete lack of respect. Denise opened her mouth to respond, but Liam held up a hand. I'm not finished, he said. You asked me about getting older. Yes, I'm getting older. We all are. That's what happens when you're fortunate enough to live a long life. You asked me about my career choices. I choose roles that challenge me, that I find interesting, that I think audiences will enjoy. And you asked me about my personal life, about my late wife. And that is where you crossed a line that should never be crossed. His voice broke slightly on the last words, revealing the emotion behind his calm exterior. The audience was clearly moved, several women wiping their eyes. Even the cameraman looked uncomfortable. That loss, Liam said, composing himself, is the most painful thing I've ever experienced. It's something I carry with me every single day. And you thought it was appropriate to use it as fodder for your talk show, to get a reaction, to create a moment. Well, you got your moment, Denise started weakly. But Liam interrupted, firm but composed. Not the one you wanted. Because I'm not going to sit here and let you bully me. I'm not going to pretend this is normal or acceptable. And I'm certainly not going to stay here and continue this interview. He set the microphone down on the coffee table in front of him with a deliberate motion. Janet stood up as well. Liam, on behalf of the show, I want to apologize. This isn't how we normally conduct ourselves. I appreciate that, Janet, Liam. Then maybe you need to think about what you always do on this show, Liam responded. The audience burst into applause again, louder this time with several people standing. Liam gave them a small, appreciative nod and walked off the stage. The camera caught Denise's stunned expression as she watched him leave, surrounded by her disappointed colleagues. Back on the set, the atmosphere was tense. The other loose women panelists were clearly upset. You need to apologize when we come back on air, Janet said, addressing Denise during the commercial break. Apologize to who? Denise asked defensively. He's gone, Janet replied, her tone sharp. To the audience, then. You went too far. Nadia's voice rose in disbelief. You absolutely went too far. You attacked a man who came here in good faith. You brought up his deceased wife, and you did it all for what? For ratings? For attention? I was trying to make good television, Denise said weakly. That wasn't good television, Janet said flatly. That was car crash television, and you were the one driving the car. When the show returned from commercial, the empty seat where Liam had been was painfully obvious. The audience whispered and pointed at the vacant spot on the sofa, clearly shocked. Kay spoke first. Well, as you all saw, Liam Neeson has left the building. And I think we all understand why. Janet nodded. It's not often we see a guest walk out. But in this case, I completely support his decision. He was put in an impossible situation, Nadia added, tears still in her eyes. He came here to talk about his work, and instead, he was subjected to a series of inappropriate questions. All three women avoided looking at Denise, who sat with her arms crossed, her face set in a stubborn expression. Does anyone want to add anything? Kay asked. Silence stretched uncomfortably. Denise had the chance to show humility, to admit she had made a serious mistake. But instead, she shrugged. I stand by what I did. If he couldn't handle a few tough questions, that's on him. The audience erupted in boos. Not a few scattered murmurs, but a wave of disapproval. People shouted, some even standing to make their displeasure known. Janet looked shocked. You can't be serious, she said. I am completely serious, Denise replied, raising her voice. I'm not going to apologize for doing my job. That wasn't your job, Kay said angrily. Your job is to conduct interviews, not to drive guests away. He was being oversensitive, Denise insisted. No, Nadia said, her voice shaking. He was being human. He was being a person who has experienced loss and grief. And you used that against him. You weaponized his pain for entertainment. That's not journalism. That's not even good television. That's just cruelty. The audience applauded loudly. Signs of support were held up, one even reading Team Liam. Kay added, we want to say to Liam Neeson, if you're watching, that we respect you and we're sorry for how things went today. The behavior you experienced doesn't represent who we are as a show. Janet and Nadia nodded in agreement. But Denise, the show had survived the episode, but its reputation had taken a hit. The lesson was clear. Provocation might grab attention, but integrity and human decency command respect, and Liam had earned both that day.